Hello students, once again I am welcoming you all in my lecture series on classical optics for physics 1. Myself Dr. Sucharita Bhattacharya, Associate Professor of Physics from Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata, is delivering my session for first semester BTech course, and the streams under considerations are Computer Science and Engineering, Information Technology and Food Technology. Right now, I am starting the lecture session 6. Now let us take a look what is there. You know that already we have started the submodule 2.02 on diffraction of light of module 2, that is classical optics. And today's lecture session, that is the second lecture session, there I am going to cover Fraunhofer diffraction due to double slit. Actually, in the last session we have done the Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit. So today I will extend my discussion on double slit. Then missing order I will introduce, and the intensity distribution definitely I will show you. So the questions to be addressed in today's session are as follows. What is the arrangement for double slit diffraction? That means the difference with respect to the single slit diffraction. Next one, how to obtain the intensity expression and what about the value? Then we have to explain the terms in the intensity expression used. Very different compared to the single slit diffraction case. Next, we will go for the interference maxima and the minima. After that, the diffraction maxima and minima terms we have to take care. Next, we will go for very interesting missing order part. And finally, we will go for the intensity distribution graph. Now, let us move to the next one. Now, Fraunhofer diffraction due to double slit. Actually, AB and CD are two slits. Look here. AB and CD are two slits, each of with small e and small e, and separated by an opaque part, that is small d. That means the two slits of equal width are separated by a distance d. Now, a plane wavefront of wavelength lambda, that is a parallel beam of light, is incident on the slits. Now, how to produce that? You know that source will be kept at the focal plane of a lens. Naturally, the rays of light will come out as the parallel one, and the corresponding wavefront will be considered to be the plane wavefront. Now, according to the principle of Huygens-Fresnel, every point on the wavefront is to be regarded as the origin of secondary wavelets, and so from every point on the slits, the rays of light are radiated out to the right side in all possible directions, and these will be focused on a screen that is at xy. The focused on a screen that is xy. Now all the points on the wavefront incident on the slits have same phase because they are starting at same instant and velocities are same. Naturally, all the points on this wavefront on the slits, they are of same phase. That means they act as sources of coherent nature. Now, the undiffracted waves which come out of the slits are focused at O by the lens L. Now look here, out of the diffraction, we will get two set of beams. Rather, we will consider two set of beams. One set of beams we are considering which are not at all diffracted and being focused at some point O, and the other set of beams which are being diffracted at an angle theta to the normal and converging at the point P. The situation is exactly similar to the case of single slit diffraction. Only in place of one slit, here we have two slits. Now, look at the position of O. It is equidistant with respect to S1 and S2, the two slits. That means path difference is 0 between the waves emerging from S1 and S2 and to reach the point O. So obviously O will be the position of a maximum. O will be the position of a maximum. We will check it out. No, but in case of P, what about the situation? The distance of P from O is different. Naturally, to find out the resultant amplitude at P due to the waves coming out of S1 and S2, we have to consider the path difference at P with respect to S1 and S2 of the waves coming out from S1 and S2 to reach the P. Because according to the construction, it is very clear the path S1P and path S2P are not same. Path S2P is a little bit more than the path S1P. That means there must be a path difference, just like the case of single slit diffraction. How to do that? From S1, we will draw a perpendicular. Now look here, what about S1 and what about S2? I must mention that corresponding to the slit AB, we are considering one point S1, say at the middle point, and corresponding to CD, we are considering another point, say S2, at the middle point of the slit. Now, the waves which are coming out from S1 and from S2 and reaching the point P, they are suffering a path and phase difference. How to get that? From S1, let us draw a normal which cuts S2K at the point K. That means beyond the plane here, that is BK, the paths are same. So what about the extra optical path traversed by S2P from the slit CD compared to S1P from the slit AB? That is nothing but S2. That is nothing but, let us take a look, that is S2K. That is S2K. So S2K is the path difference between the diffracted beam at an angle theta to the normal to reach the point P on the screen. I already mentioned that S1 and S2 are the middle points of the two slits AB and CD under consideration. Now, the resultant amplitude due to the waves from each slit diffracted along theta is A sine alpha by alpha. Now, take a look how to do that path difference and those paths. The resultant amplitude due to the waves from each single slit diffracted along theta is A sine alpha by alpha, and total phase in this direction is 2 pi by lambda into E sine theta. This is a single slit and this is another single slit. Already we have seen that in case of single slit, the resultant amplitude due to all the waves to reach the angle, to cover through an angle theta to reach some point on the screen, is given by A sine alpha by alpha. And what about the corresponding phase difference? That is 2 pi by lambda into E sine theta. What about this E sine theta? In case of single slit, it is the path difference. Now here our situation is different. It is the case of double slit. We will go to that point. But before that, let us consider the fact here you have, out of each single slit, the resultant amplitude corresponding to each single slit is A sine alpha by alpha. Similarly, here A sine alpha by alpha, and corresponding phase difference between them is 2 pi by lambda into E sine theta. Now, for each individual, now the phase difference between the secondary wavelets between A and S1 on reaching P, what about that? That will be pi by lambda into E sine theta, because total phase difference out of each single slit to reach the point P on the screen, that is given by 2 pi by lambda into E sine theta, that we calculated in case of single slit diffraction. But here we are considering the phase difference between A and S1, where S1 is the middle point of AB. Naturally, the corresponding phase difference will be half of this, that is pi by lambda into E sine theta, that is alpha. Similarly, from CD, if you consider the path difference and the phase difference between C and S2 or D and S2, you will get the similar result. Okay. So replace theoretically effect of all the secondary wavelets in AB and CD by single wave of amplitude A sine alpha by alpha, each with initial phase alpha, originating from the middle points S1 and S2 of AB and CD, traveling along theta to the normal. Very, very important consideration. Let us take a look. Out of each slit, you know, infinite number of secondary waves are coming out. And they reach the point P. Okay. Now, what about the total amplitude of all the secondary waves? That is A sine alpha by alpha. Similarly, here the same thing. That means for the purpose of theoretical discussion, if you consider all the secondary wavelets or waves from the slit AB, you want to replace by a single wave, then what should be the corresponding amplitude of that wave? Definitely, it should be made equivalent to the resultant of all, then the situation will be exactly similar. So, replace theoretically effect of all secondary wavelets in AB and CD by single wave of amplitude A sine alpha by alpha, each with initial phase alpha, originating from the middle points S1 and S2 of AB and CD, traveling along theta to the normal. So, in place of infinite number of beams, we will now consider corresponding to each slit, there is a single beam. Corresponding to this slit, there is a single beam. What about their amplitudes? A sine alpha by alpha, A sine alpha by alpha. And what about their initial phases, alpha and alpha? So they are coherent. That means they can superpose. Okay. Now, consequently, the resultant amplitude at P is simply equal to the resultant due to the interference of two waves of equal amplitude A sine alpha by alpha originating in same phase alpha that I already mentioned. But to reach the point P, however, these waves develop a phase difference depending upon the difference in their optical path. Because I already mentioned the paths S1P and S2P are not same, and you have to get the path difference that already we mentioned as S2K. Now let us come to the point, what about S2K path difference? Now path difference S2K equal to E plus D sine theta equal to B. Just take a look, that is S2K. What about S2K? S1, S2 sine theta. What about S1, S2? That is E plus D. Because from S1 to B it is E by 2. From C to S2 it is E by 2. And this is D. So what about S1, S2? That is E plus D. Okay. E plus D, you need S2K. That is E plus D sine theta. And that is represented by B. So the path difference between S1 and S2 is S2K equal to E plus D sine theta equal to B. So what about the corresponding phase difference at P? 2 pi by lambda into E plus D sine theta. That is expressed as twice beta, where beta equal to pi by lambda into E plus D sine theta. The name has been given in analogy with alpha we used in single slit diffraction, where alpha was pi by lambda into E sine theta. But since here two slits are considered, that's why E plus D factor is coming considering the two slits. Okay. So double slit diffraction problem is now made equivalent to double slit interference problem. So double slit diffraction problem is now made equivalent to double slit interference problem. Because just like interference, here you have two sources S1 and S2 with their amplitude A sine alpha by alpha, initial phase alpha, and there is a common phase difference to reach the final point on the screen, that is twice beta, and the corresponding path difference is given by B. Okay. So what about the resultant amplitude? Just take a look. It is given by 2 a sine alpha by alpha cos pi by lambda into e plus d sine theta. From where we got it? Just follow the resultant amplitude, what you obtained in Young's double slit experiment. That was 2a cos pi d by lambda. I think all of you can remember. What about a? The amplitude coming out of each slit, isn't that? And what about d? D was the path difference between the two slits to reach any point on the screen. Similarly, here what we got in place of a, we got a sine alpha by alpha. A sine alpha by alpha, that is the amplitude here corresponding to each slit. And pi by lambda into what about the path difference? That is given as e plus d sine theta. So you got it? So resultant amplitude R at P is given by this. Mind it, it is very, very important, and you have used the fact that Young's double slit interference result in case of double slit diffraction. When we are putting, that means you are considering the fact that because of interference of secondary wavelets, this final resultant amplitude you got, which is the speciality of the phenomenon of diffraction, isn't that? So what about the resultant intensity? Proportional to resultant amplitude squared. So I equal to 4k square. K is the constant of proportionality that we represent as I0, as we did in case of single slit diffraction. So 4I0, then sine square alpha by alpha square, that means it square, then cos square pi by lambda into e plus d sine theta. So resultant intensity is I equal to 4I0 sine square alpha by alpha square cos square pi by lambda into e plus d sine theta. It is written as cos square beta because already we expressed beta is equal to pi by lambda into e plus d sine theta. So look here. This is the intensity due to the double slit diffraction. 4I0 sine square alpha by alpha square cos square beta. I hope you are understanding the difference between the single slit diffraction intensity and the double slit diffraction intensity. First thing is that 4 factor is arising, and second thing is that the second parameter, second factor in the form of parameter beta also arising, which was not present in single slit diffraction. So here I0 sine square alpha by alpha square gives the diffraction pattern contribution due to single slit, and cos square beta giving the interference pattern due to light waves coming from both the slits, because beta factor is there, which includes both E plus D I already mentioned. Okay, so their superposition will give us the final resultant intensity. Very, very interesting. You just take care of this. Okay. Let us now come to the dependence of intensity. First is already mentioned, I0 sine square alpha by alpha square. That is single slit diffraction terms. Its positions of maxima and minima we already mentioned. Till we are recapitulating once more. How to get minimum out of this? Obviously sine alpha will be 0. That means alpha equal to plus minus m pi. Putting the value of alpha equal to pi by lambda into e sine theta, we get the condition of minima in terms of path difference for single slit diffraction term as e sine theta equal to plus minus m lambda, where m equal to 1, 2, 3 is order of diffraction minima. Now how to get maxima out of this factor? Obviously this factor maxima we got at alpha equal to 0, the principal maxima, and at values of alpha approaching 3 pi by 2, 5 pi by 2, 7 pi by 2, giving us the position of secondary maxima that we discussed in detail in the last class. So this is the first term. Now second term contribution. What about the second term? That is cos square beta. so-called interference term. Now, how to get maxima out of this term? Obviously, maxima will be obtained by the values of beta for which cos square beta equal to 1. That means cos beta will be equal to plus minus 1. So which values of beta will satisfy that? Plus minus n pi, where n value can be 0, 1, 2, 3, the order of interference maxima. And what is the value of beta? That is pi by lambda into e plus d sine theta. By putting the value, you can get the condition of interference minima. In terms, condition of interference maxima, I'm sorry, condition of interference maxima in terms of path difference, E plus D sine theta equal to plus minus n lambda. N is the order of interference maxima and lambda is the monochromatic wavelength what you are using for the diffraction purpose. And E plus D, E is the separation of each slit and D is the width of each slit and D is the separation between the two slits. E plus D, the points separated by a distance of E plus D are called corresponding points in case of double slit diffraction. Okay. Now, come to the case of minima. Obviously, you have to choose those values of beta for which cos square beta equal to 0. Now, which values of beta will satisfy that? Odd multiple of pi by 2. You all know odd multiple of pi by 2 in cos factor will always give you 0. So, minima occur at an angle theta such that E plus D sine theta equal to plus minus 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2 by putting beta equal to pi by lambda into E plus D sine theta. Along with this condition, you can get this condition in terms of path difference for interference minima. So here you are getting total 3 conditions for diffraction term. Here you are getting total 2 conditions from interference term. Now, if you look carefully at this diffraction minima and interference maxima, it will be clear to you that they are appearance wise very similar. E sine theta equal to plus minus m lambda and here it is E plus D sine theta equal to plus minus n lambda. But this is the condition for interference maxima and this is the condition for diffraction minima, going to give us something different and new. Let us take a look. Missing order of interference maxima. If the slit width E is kept constant and separation between the slits D is varied, let us consider the first relation, that is the interference maxima. A few minutes back I already mentioned, that is E plus D sine theta equal to plus minus n lambda, where n is the order of interference maxima. Now just take a look. If E is kept constant but D is varied, then the distance between consecutive interference maxima is going to vary. Distance between consecutive interference maxima is going to vary. It is found that if E is kept constant, D varies, then from the condition of interference maxima, we can say that the distance between two consecutive interference maxima varies. And it follows from the single slit diffraction minima condition. That means E sine theta equal to plus minus m lambda, where m is the order of the diffraction minima. The size of the diffraction pattern due to single slit remain constant. So size of the diffraction pattern due to single slit remain constant, but the distance between two consecutive interference maxima varies because D is varying. That means a study of the resultant pattern will reveal that certain order of interference maxima will be missed out from the resultant diffraction pattern. Because in the resultant expression, both the factor for intensity, both the factors are arising side by side. So you have to study the resultant effect to give you the final intensity distribution, where we will find that certain order of the interference maxima are missing, known as the missing orders. Now, how to get that? Let us suppose that for a particular angle theta, both the relations are simultaneously satisfied. That means E sine theta equal to plus minus n lambda and E plus D sine theta equal to plus minus n lambda. This is interference maximum and this is diffraction minimum. That means interference maxima will be absent in this direction and the corresponding relation represent the missing order expression. Just take a look. We are considering that along certain direction theta, both the conditions are simultaneously satisfied. That means E plus D by E equal to N by M. That means one's maximum is overlapping with others minimum in a given direction theta for a particular lambda. So what about the condition for missing order? E plus D by E equal to N by M. That means one's maximum is coinciding with others minimum, resulting in missing up of maxima order compared to the minima. Now N and M are two integers, so E plus D by E gives us the ratio of two integers. Ratio of two integers for missing orders which determine the order of the missing interference maxima. So condition for missing order, be careful, E plus D by E equal to N by M. Now N is the order of interference maxima, M is the order of diffraction minima. Now we will find how to check that which order of interference maxima will be missed out under suitable conditions. Okay. The example of missing orders, we are taking case 1. Since we consider that D can be varied keeping E constant, let us first choose D. The separation between the slits is equal to E, the width of each slit. Now, here you all must consider that in diffraction, the slit width must be of the order of wavelength and the D and the E. That means the slit width as well as the separation between them must be of the same order, that is equivalent to that of lambda. Okay. Now, what about the condition for missing order? E plus D by E, let us put a D value equal to E. What you will get? N by M equal to 2. That means N equal to 2N. So, under this condition, the missing orders will be given by N equal to 2N, as N is representing the interference maxima. Now, what is the meaning of it? You know the values of M, the diffraction minima, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So, corresponding to M values, N will be equal to 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. So, for first order minima, second order interference maxima will superpose. For second order minima, fourth order interference maxima will superpose. For third order minima, sixth order interference maxima will superpose. For fourth order minima, eighth order interference maxima will superpose. So corresponding to these M integral values, the missing orders will be N. That means under this condition, second order, fourth order, sixth order, eighth order will be missed out from the resultant diffraction pattern. So let us take a look how to explain it. Here we have plotted I versus E sine theta. I versus E sine theta. I is the intensity, and what about E sine theta? Basically alpha equal to pi by lambda into E sine theta. So E sine theta means alpha lambda by pi. Alpha lambda by pi. Now alpha equal to plus minus m pi. So what we are getting? Alpha lambda by pi means m lambda. So E sine theta must be of the order of m lambda. Accordingly, it is plotted. Look here. This is plus minus lambda. That means m equal to 1, first order minimum, plus minus 2 lambda, m equal to 2, the second order minimum, plus minus 3 lambda n equal to 3 for the third order minimum, where that is the single slit diffraction pattern. Single slit diffraction pattern which are plotted against alpha means E sin theta. Basically alpha lambda by pi is taken here. So this dotted curve is nothing but the plot of single slit diffraction pattern, because single slit term is very much present in the resultant intensity expression. Okay. Now, under the situation that D equal to E with first order minima, which order maxima will superpose second order? That means in the region of the central single slit diffraction maxima, you have to accommodate the corresponding interference maxima. What about that? N equal to 0, n equal to plus minus 1 on both sides. Now n equal to 2 will coincide with first order minima according to the condition D equal to E. So the second order maxima cannot be visible as maxima because it coincides with first order minima of the diffraction pattern. So it will be missed out. Okay. Now come here. This is the second order. Now third order maxima. Third order interference maxima will coincide in the secondary maxima, secondary or subsidiary maxima of the single slit diffraction pattern. And what about the fourth order? Fourth order will coincide with second order minima of the diffraction pattern. Fourth order will superpose with second order minima of the diffraction pattern. Similarly, what about the next one? Fifth order interference maxima will be visible, though intensity drastically reduced, but it is very much there. But what about the sixth order? Sixth order will not be visible because it will coincide with third order diffraction minima. That means in the final resultant intensity distribution, due to the combined effect of diffraction and interference, we are getting there will be three interference maxima. Actually, there will be three interference maxima within the central diffraction maxima. For the case D equal to E, because the orders 2, 4, 6, 8 will be missed out as they are coinciding with the diffraction minima of first order, second order, third order, and fourth order. So this is the first example of missing order, that is case 1. Let us now move to the second case, that is D equal to twice E, because D is variable, but mind it, D must be of the order of E, the slit width always. Now, what about the missing order? E plus D, first let us look at the missing order condition. E plus D by E equal to N by M. Now D equal to 2E, so N by M equal to 3. That means N equal to thrice M. That means for M equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, N value you will find as 3, 6, 9, 12. That means there will be 5 interference maxima within the central diffraction maxima. Let us now take a look at the diagram in a little bit different way I have shown here. I am showing you here the interference curve. What about the interference curve? That is the violet one. The violet one is the interference curve. And in case of interference, you know that always there will be one type of maximum and then minimum. No secondary maximum arises there. Primary or principal maximum versus minimum. Accordingly, this is the central principal maximum of the interference, n equal to 0, then n equal to plus minus 1, n equal to plus minus 2, n equal to plus minus 3, and so on. They are plotted here. Now come to this case of blue line. What about this blue line? It is representing the single slit diffraction pattern. Single slit diffraction pattern, that is the blue line. Okay. Now under this condition, with first order minimum, third order maximum will superpose. So look at the resultant diffraction pattern. Before that, I must mention that for diffraction, this is the first order minima on both sides. then second order minima will come and so on, and that will take place at plus minus pi and so on. Okay. Now, when you combine both, then what we will get? This is the red line indicating the complete double slit pattern by taking the contribution from both interference and diffraction term and choosing D equal to twice E. What we will get with first order minimum, third order interference maxima will superpose. Let us take a look. This is n equal to 0, interference central. This is n equal to plus minus 1 on both sides. This is n equal to plus minus 2. So total 5 number of interference maxima are accommodated in the central diffraction maxima for single slit. Now, with which it is coinciding? N equal to 3 is coinciding with n equal to 1. So third order interference maxima is coinciding with first order minima. Similarly, this side, the third order interference maxima is coinciding with first order minima. That means in the resultant diffraction pattern, you will find 5 interference maxima of decreasing intensity or amplitude within the central single slit diffraction pattern, and similarly in the position of secondary maxima you will get the corresponding data. Okay, mind it along y. Here we have plotted I by I0. So at this point I equal to I0, that's why we are getting 1, the maximum value here. So here I have shown you for a single case how the interference and diffraction combine to give you the complete double slit pattern. Let us now extend this discussion in the form of this diagram, where we will consider how individually in detail the root of the equations will vary to give you the intensity for interference, similarly for single slit diffraction, and then their combined effect we will see. Let us first take a look at the upper curve, which is a plot of cos square beta versus beta, and orders are marked for various maxima for intensity distribution curve in double slit diffraction. So this is cos square beta, this is beta. Okay. This is the central maxima. So this is 0. Next you are getting 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi and so on. And there you are getting the minima. Clear? This is the first order. N is the order of the interference maxima. So first, second, third, fourth and so on. Clear? Let us now come to the case of the single slit diffraction curve. Mind it, here it is the variation with respect to alpha of sine square alpha by alpha square. Here it was with respect to beta of cos square beta. But in terms of the missing order relationship, we will make the scales to match with one another. One in terms of beta, other in terms of alpha. How? Choose E plus D by E equal to 3. Just now the case what we have done, that means D equal to twice E. Then already we have seen orders n equal to 3, 6, 9 of interference maxima will be absent in the resultant diffraction pattern. Naturally, in the plot of sine square alpha by alpha square versus alpha, first point of 0 intensity, that is n equal to 1, is marked below the third order interference maxima, that is n equal to 3. Just take a look. With first order minima, third order interference maxima is superposing. Similarly, this side also. Next, with second order diffraction minima, sixth order interference maxima is superposing. Similarly, on this side, the sixth order interference maxima superposing as per the choice of the missing order condition. Is it clear? Next, with third order minima, which order will superpose? The ninth order. Similarly, this side with third order, the ninth order will superpose. That means in both the graphs, the scale of beta and alpha, they are made equivalent and match to each other, so that when you will come to the combination of both, you can do the things very easily. Okay. So this is the complete double slit pattern which is obtained by multiplying the ordinate of corresponding points in two curves. What about this? Sine square alpha by alpha square into cos square beta. So here you are getting sine square alpha by alpha square into cos square beta. Along with that, 4I0 or 4R0 square term is arising, because you know R0 square is the amplitude square and I0 is the intensity. So the corresponding double slit pattern is obtained by multiplying the ordinates of corresponding points of the two curves and the constant 4I0. The product is then plotted as ordinate at that point. Okay. So these two curves, ordinates point to point, you are matching. By multiplying them with 4I0, you will get the final intensity pattern for double slit. Just take a look. This is the central one. Then how many will be there? Interference maxima, n equal to 0, n equal to plus minus 1, n equal to plus minus 2. That is 5 will be included inside this. What about the first minima? First minima will coincide with third order interference maxima. So here accordingly you are getting it. Similarly, what about the second minima? That is with the sixth order interference maxima, you are getting it. And for third one, it is the ninth order. Now, with respect to these, what about the difference here? This is the case with interference only. This is the case with single slit diffraction only. But this is the combination of both in the form of double slit diffraction. Here, what is the maximum intensity? 4 times the intensity due to single slit diffraction. 4 times the intensity due to single slit diffraction in the region normally occupied by single slit diffraction maxima. Here we have equally spaced number of alternate interference maxima and minima. Okay. In the region normally occupied by secondary maxima in the single slit diffraction, here we are getting interference maxima and minima of very less intensity, and similarly in the other position of secondary maxima. So this is the overall double slit diffraction pattern due to the superposition of interference and single slit diffraction terms. So I think all of you are understanding the situation. Things are a little bit different and conceptual. That's why I took so much time, and I took different case studies and the figures on all possible units, rather the dimensions or the variables, so that you can get the things much more clearly. Okay. You can plot I versus alpha, you can plot I versus beta in case of double slit diffraction, because you are scaling, matching rather the scales of alpha and beta to have final I, because here sine square alpha by alpha square, there you have alpha, here you have cos square beta, the term is beta. Okay. So I hope all of you are understanding. If you face any difficulty, please feel free to raise the questions and contact me in my numbers already given to you. Okay. So thank you, my dear students. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.